All right, I got a few hours, and then I gotta get as many of these voices heard as I can, and it's just something I have to do. All right, I have to make sure that I have to get every frickin' voice heard. Everyone counts. Every single person needs to be heard. It's just very, very important. Anyway, I was gonna say my notes where I keep the unread and then mark them as read, slide them in another folder. The unread list was at 800 and change, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I thought I was starting to really knock them down. And then I just looked in there at the number count, which I rarely look at, it's over 900 again. And then I got a shit pile in all the inboxes that haven't even been saved yet. The amount of people out there in the know of various bizarre truths is really substantial, is something else. It can make a person quite frustrated if you are aware of a lot of lying and misleading going on. Obviously, I've mentioned that a lot. Obviously, it frustrates the shit out of me. And I've said before, I don't want to die. And potentially when we die, we find out. I do not want to die and have the experience of going, oh shit, no way, you filthy bastards. Really? I just spent my entire life being led this way or misinformed that much. Really? You know, I don't want to have that happen. That's why we're here. I don't want that to happen to myself or anybody else. And somebody's responsible for being a lying sack of shit. I want to expose them and put an end to it and get the truth spread and give every single human being an equal opportunity at knowledge and living their life to the max and enjoying their passions, right? Okay, quick note, I'm babbling. The email from the kind lady who sent us the email about a conversation with her father, ex-military man who she greatly respected, loved, and he shared with her the experience of the military guys having some kind of being sent into the holes, the tunnels in Vietnam, and I think it was, quote, what was it, 3 went into, came out or something, and they killed all the enemy. All right. What I would like to say to that is, I haven't a clue if that's true or not, I don't know. A lot of people have emailed me saying they have heard numerous tales of the U.S. government using hybrid beings to go to war. All right, let's just say that's true. I don't know if it is or isn't. I have my doubts that in the 60s, the U.S. government was using hybrid wolves or whatever it is and human beings to go in and kill Vietnamese people, military guys. If that were the case, the Vietnamese would have been screaming their version of that story across the planet nonstop. I've never heard of it once. I haven't really dug either, maybe I will in a bit, but does anybody know of any Vietnamese people, ex-military who was around then or past stories noted, shared, that, quote, the Westerners were bringing over canine-like beings to hunt them down in the tunnels and massacre all of them? That would be big news, and especially if it's the enemy that was being imposed on. They're not going to have any respect for the United States or anybody else when it comes to withholding the truth of what their enemy possibly did, right? So there should be a lot of documentation out there in Vietnam of that going down, would be my rational thinking guess. Wouldn't you? Right? Interesting. It's an interesting tale. I'm not saying it's not true. And I'm also not saying it is true. I'm saying take from it what you will and leave it. But what I'm saying is my instant thought goes to, if my relatives in Vietnam, if I grew up there, if my relatives in Vietnam were fighting, an entire village was fighting, and this shit was going down, that shit went down, somebody knew about it, somebody told about it, and that story went around like wildfire in my country, Vietnam, if I was Vietnamese at the time. Wouldn't you think? So that shouldn't be too hard to dig and try to find the Vietnamese version of what went down back then, if that is what went down. Anyway, what else? I had somebody send in some photos. Not that I share photos. very often, or I have too much concern for photos myself. There's no story behind it, no nothing. But what does hit home from you, this photo, is it's the vegetation is absolutely same species as what I'm used to here. I'll put these photos in the video. And when you have been forced with the reality that these beings are running around out there, you cannot not stop keeping, your subconscious is always being aware of possibly seeing that similar shape or color or whatever everywhere you are when you're in the woods. There's no way out of it. And this photo is kind of creepy to me because that's typically what I would be looking for. It's a little fuzzy, which should be typical of a photograph of one of these beings. Talking to various people who have a lot of knowledge, almost you should be expecting it to be fuzzy if there is a clear photo. This particular cut, let's say it's a logged off area, it looks like it was probably logged off at least 6 years ago. So knowing that, if that shape was it was a root system that was balled up or turned up, a blowdown, in 6 years there wouldn't be any soil left in those roots. Dark soil, if that was, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a root ball flipped up with dark soil. Now there wouldn't be any dark soil left. So the dark, if that was a root ball, it would be the same color as a pile of shit in front of it. But anyway, it's a creepy picture. It's a creepy picture. That's what I don't want to see when I'm out in the woods myself. That was interesting. I don't know anything about it. And the email, I didn't leave anything about it. So there you go. Let's get on to some people being heard. Very important. It's funny because we can't hear two at a time here, right? You can only hear one at a time. That's all you can do. It's impossible for any of us to hear two at a time. So one at a time. Even if, like you say, well, get somebody else to do this. What would make a difference? Because you can only hear one at a time anyway, right? Unless what are we going to do? All day email shares on this channel, right? Read by various people, and then all you would be sitting there all day long in front of the screen. I guess maybe that's a way to do it. I don't know. Dark colored Sasquatch with a tan or white beard, chest, and abdomen hair. This sounds like it's going to be very detailed. Hello, Steve. My name is Steve Booth. Always good to meet another Steve for some reason. I never have and never will care what people think of me. Good for you, man. You're free. I try to be a decent person, but sometimes people just won't let you. LOL. True enough. I live in Powell County, Kentucky. I'm 46 years old. I've had some crazy stuff happen in my life. But whoa, man. Let me tell you, brother. When I was 17 and in school, I had this 440 Kawasaki street bike that I rode in summer and winter. Well, one night, me and my buddy Nathan were out riding sometime after midnight, and it was about late November. It was kind of cold for just a jacket and gloves, but we were young then, so it didn't matter much. We rode up Furnace Mountain Road, about 4 to 5 miles out, and like I said, it was after midnight. We came into the outside lane of a S-curve, and there was something bigger than us on the bike, bent over, something dead. We passed on by it, pretty fast too. It was bent over. Steve, it was simply huge. Nathan leaned up closer to my head and said, "Booth, what the F was that?" I could tell he was nervous, and I was too. And I said, "Man, you don't want to know." By this time, we were about a half a mile past it. So I stopped at a little country church and turned around. I told him it looked like a Bigfoot trying to tear something apart. And he said he thought the same thing. Well, Steve, being 17, full of testosterone, I guess, prompted us to go back by it. So went back by the way we came, and as we entered the curve, sure enough, there it was. Still bent over, whatever it had down on the roadside. I hit the bright on the headlight at about 75 feet from it, and about 2 seconds later, the creature stood up and half turned facing us. Right on by it we went. On the wrong side of the road, of course, and both looking at it instead of the road. Well, I nearly went off the edge of the pavement, but I didn't. You're lucky it didn't clothesline you. All the while, since it had stood up, Nathan was pounding my sides with open hands and did so halfway back down the mountain. Steve, when it stood up, it was twice as tall as me, and him sitting on the motorcycle. I won't tell you that I could see its eyes good, but I saw the rest of it real good. It was dark brown or black and had a white or tan colored beard, chest and abdomen hair. Kind of how gray looks on a real hairy human man. He was completely covered in long hair, that's for sure, except for what I could see of its face. It looked to have a long head, and its arms were long and defined, even under the hair. So were its tree trunk looking legs. Steve, I'm not going to say I was scared to death, but I was freaked out big time. We went back up that way the next morning to see what kind of animals laying on the side of the road, and there was a very pretty horse laying there with a whole hind quarter tore off of it. Its neck was broken, and it looked like a truck had hit it. The way its other leg bones all looked. After that experience, I've been a Sasquatch fan. I've always wanted to have another encounter, but not yet. I've learned a lot from listening to you and a few others. Things like the infrasound, them mimicking other animals, and that they are almost like us. Some good and some not so good. I like what you do, brother. It's good to know there are still good, decent people like yourself who give a shit about other people, and even the other people. Thanks for letting me share. I've not heard anyone else's story from Kentucky on your channel. Keep on keeping on for the people, Steve. Good people are getting to be as rare as the Sasquatch are. Oh, they're out there, man. They're out there. Thanks for that share. Appreciate it. And you had some guts on you to turn around and go back by that thing. I know I wouldn't. Or would I have? I probably would if I didn't quite know what it was, if I didn't understand the topic. Yeah, I might have went back by it. And then I probably would have regretted it. What a crazy thing to see. Man, if anything killed my horse, one of my horses, I would go on a murdering rampage. I'll tell you what, that would be very hard for me to swallow. Very hard. What's this one? It's going back some days, some weeks. A question for the round table. Please don't use my name or give my email out. Okay, man. I don't think I've given an email out today, have I? Hi, Steve. I've enjoyed your content for a while, always listening and interested in what the round table has for all of us. I respect and appreciate your forwardness on these topics, while offering a place for people to share their experiences and knowledge with us all. This email may be a bit different from your other ones, as this doesn't directly relate to the big guy. However, it may relate to your and our table's pursuit for the real history of our species and some of the odd characteristics of these encounters. To save a lot of backstory for another time, I'll say I've come across seemingly unrelated dots and have started connecting them. And if I'm right, then man, we still have a lot left to learn. Without a doubt. With all the scientists, more specifically the ones dealing with atomic fusion and fission, who write info into this channel about their experiences and unique input, I'm curious if they have ever looked into quantum entanglement using hydrogen atoms, more specifically their proton. The most simplified reason I can give you for asking this to the round table is I believe that may be a large piece of the puzzle which we are all trying to figure out. I know how this saying is usually responded to in the comments, but if people would like more details, then I'm all for sharing. The reason I'm not is to be brief, since this is an odd type of email. While this open question to those individuals may have a few ears raised, I'm hopeful that a good number of people here may know someone who knows someone whose ears would be raised at this question. Thank you for what you're doing, Steve, and everyone who's a part of the round table. We'll put this puzzle together eventually. Please read this part off camera if you choose to read this email on camera. Let me read that again. Please read this part off camera if you choose to read this email on camera. Oh, all right. Hold on a minute. All right. Camera shut off. I got you, man. I got that last note in from you, and we'll see what comes. Right, but I have a feeling that the scientists I'm in contact with are going to answer their questions, okay? Now, again, thanks for sending it in, and I got to move on to the next one because I got a lot to be read here. Hi, Steve. I found your YouTube channel and enjoy the stories and the outdoors you show in the videos. I'm working overseas and miss being home in Colorado. Please don't share my name. My father took the family on road trips, and one summer we went to Yellowstone and saw Old Faithful. We were in a cabin one night, a big room, all of us with my mother and father together in one side of the room, and my brother and I in twin beds on the other side. I woke up in the dark and heard claw sounds, like a bear on the side of the cabin. I was scared and woke up my brother, who said, "No, it's not a bear, go back to sleep." I knew it was, but the noise stopped. So I did fall back to sleep. The next morning we went outside, and on the side of the cabin were 5 to 6 foot long claw marks. I knew what I heard. My brother was just amazed. I remember feeling that I should trust what I feel and sense at that young age of maybe 6 years old. I'm in the healing profession, studied parapsychology, and have native friends who help me understand the spirit world. That would be interesting. I believe what you say is right. If you say in your mind and out loud, "I'm not here to hurt you, so leave me alone and I will leave you alone and respect you," they know this. I believe that to be true myself too. The forest people have high mind-speak intelligence. The dumbass people who go out trying to catch a glimpse or disturb them are just not knowing what's really going on here. Agreed. I had a UFO experience with a popular UFO group out of Denver. We were on a camping trip, about 20 of us. We went into the San Luis or Louis Valley by the sand dunes for UFO discussion and a lecture the first night at the campfire. I remember feeling odd and not myself, tired and a little anxious. I went to bed in my tent alone, only 5 feet from the leader of the group, who said goodnight. I woke up with a very bright beam of light focused on me through the top of my tent. I was frozen, could not move, and just lay there hoping it would soon stop. It went on forever. I could hardly breathe, but somehow I felt to be okay. I fell asleep and woke up later and told the leader I wanted to walk and talk. It was then about sunrise. I was exhausted. He did not have an explanation for what the light meant. I think it was benevolent, and maybe it was an orb. I pay attention. I'm very intuitive. I tent camp alone in state and private campgrounds, so it's important to always stay tuned into your sixth sense of what's happening around you. I know the forest people are in Colorado, and I do not wish to see one or disturb them. Thanks for all you do to help the others on your channel. Louise, appreciate it. I'd be interested to hear whatever you've learned from the native First Nations people, and if there's something significant in there that you think will help others, or even me, send it to me, all right? I'm curious, and I'm all about hearing all about it. The UFO things, they are very real, absolutely real. I've seen a couple odd things in the sky, is what it is. Do I want anything to do with UFOs? No. Nothing. Unless I absolutely have to. Let's get another one heard. Flanking us at night. Steve, the last encounter we had. Thanks for reading the experiences verbatim. On August 2021, we went camping in the White River National Forest. Me and my wife, 2 adult sons, and my 13-year-old grandson. We also had 7 dogs with us. Holy. We had 3 RVs that we slept in. The second night, we were all sitting around the campfire between 9 and 10 p.m., just BSing as always. The 4 adults always are armed. At one point in the night, we hear some really bad-sounding owls calling to each other, 3 to be exact. They sounded like they were about 100 yards in front of us and spread out about 100 yards. They had a cadence that was an after another, continuously. And that is unnatural. We commented on it, but then one of the dogs was alerting us that something was behind where we were. She wouldn't stop looking at what was behind us. My 2 boys and I got up, pulled their guns, and headed to see what was flanking us. We ran behind the trailers, and with our lights checked everything out. We could not see anything. My wife kept my grandson with her for safety. Almost immediately after we came back, the owl calls changed to a few coyote calls, then nothing. This is the same area that a man reported seeing 4 Sasquatch hunting elk from a distance the same way. Also, we are aware of others reporting Sasquatch using owl and coyote calls to communicate. We still camp, but are aware these Sasquatch are there and are using these hunting techniques to sneak around. We keep our head in a swivel and watch the dogs to alert us. Keep up the good work, thanks. Did you say to use your name? All right, Bob, appreciate it, man. The owls and the coyote sounds are so common it's ridiculous, right, you guys? It's non-stop. All right, here's a short one. Another one. Hello, Steve. This is really two things. I live in Utah, around American Fork Canyon. Coming down the canyon officer night, just before dark. Okay, there's a typo there. Me and my wife and I saw what looked like a bear climbing up the side of a hill. A few days later, I was fishing that area and noticed the hill was so steep I couldn't climb it without a rope. I looked back at the road and noticed it was approximately 500 yards. Excuse me, no bear, black bear, would be seen at that distance. About a week later, we were up the canyon overlooking a lake. My wife looked at me and asked if I felt something weird, and I said, yes, I did, like something was watching us. She wanted to leave, so we did. But I have felt the same way in my home ever since then. I think I know why, but I don't know what to do about it. I also keep seeing white balls of light float around my place. Any hints as what to do, Jim S. Okay, Jim. First off, let me rattle that area off again for those who might be curious. That was in Utah, around American Fork Canyon. All right, you guys? What would I do? You can contact Scott Carpenter, and he can probably give you some good information on what to do with that one. For sure. What else have we got? We got a whole pile of short ones here. I'm going to keep going, you guys. I'm on a mission. It's titled Black Helicopter. Steve, I heard the story about the black helicopter. I've seen that as well before 2019. I was driving down Highway 1 through Manitoba, 120 kilometers west of Winnipeg. Found it very odd. Not only was this helicopter hovering over trees, but the whole area was crawling with these black trucks that had box caps and dark purple light, that looked 2-inch by 3-inch in size. When I got home, I tried searching the internet for special military unit vehicles, secret government operations vehicles, anything I could think of, but to no success. These trucks were on the dirt roads, 2 in the highway, shoulders facing both directions, 3 in a field, and 1 appeared to be crawling through the wooded area where the helicopter was hovering. To say the least, that was a very odd thing to me to see at 3:30 a.m. Anyway, I thought I'd write in about that experience. I've been driving semi-truck from Winnipeg to Calgary for 20 years and never seen anything like that before, nor have I since. I'd love to come up that way one summer and maybe just go for a hike. Never been in BC mountains on foot before and would like to see it with someone with the experience that you have. It would be a great experience. Stay safe, Steve. All right, lots of people have reported on the black vehicles, helicopters. Have I seen that myself? No. Have I seen lots of helicopters? Yes. But one thing, I wonder if anybody's seen where we park these things. Has anybody seen where they park these vehicles during the off-shift time? That would be interesting. I don't expect to see them anytime in my lifetime, but who knows? Hi, Steve. My name is Jimmy Barak. B-A-R-R-A-K, Barak, and you can use my name, no problem. I was born in Montreal, Quebec, from a Lebanese father and a native Algonquin mother. Caught up between 2 cultures. I guess that's why I chose Montreal as my birthplace. My father came to Canada after the war in Lebanon in the 70s, in Ottawa, Ontario, and met my mother, then decided to move to Montreal. My dad is a hardworking man. Always was his own boss. He owned a restaurant and never lost his passion for firearms. Every year I saw him prepare for the hunting season. I'm a city kid and never was into hunting, but always loved when he brought me and my brother to shoot his guns in the sandpit. A couple of years ago, he was offered a deal to buy some land in the Lanaudière region, a couple of hours north of Montreal. So he bought a house with 124 acres of land. It was a shock for me the first time he brought us to see his new purchase. I didn't understand why he bought it, but at the same time he opened up another restaurant at a camping site not too far from where the house was. I soon realized that I was in that part of the province you can't go anywhere without a car, and also realized that I wasn't in a big city like Montreal. Jeez, every day is Sunday up there. So I bought a car, started to work with him and my mom at the restaurant. One night I came back home pretty late. It was springtime, and on the trail going up to the house, my car got stuck in the mud and had to make it to the house by foot. I began having this uneasy feeling. Usually I'm not scared of the dark, but when I turned off the engine and the lights, it was dark / pitch black / no moonlight, nothing. I froze, feeling watched. I didn't understand why I was feeling this way. So much so that I came back to the car and opened the lights of my car to see the trail. I didn't care if I was to drain the batteries. I took all the courage I had and ran like a madman in the direction of the house, running in fear for my life. Never felt like this before in my life. Of course, the next morning I got laughed at, trying to explain what I experienced the previous night. It was the first weird situation I had to go through. Second situation, I had a weekend off, so I invited a bunch of friends from the city to spend time in nature and to go explore the many trails of the woods. My friend just loved the woods, so we went hiking on this trail not that far deep near the houses. We saw this hill, so we decided to run to it, and that's when I heard the thing growling next to us. We couldn't see anything. We looked at each other all confused and bolted out the woods like we were pro marathon runners, lol. The third event. One day I decided to go into this area in the woods where nobody goes. It's a nice waterfall, and the feeling down there is so peaceful. A little paradise, as I like to call it. My girlfriend was working, so I decided to spend the day there swimming and taking pictures of the wildlife. And a bit like you, making videos and documenting what was around. Something told me to go higher in the trail and to observe what I could see. So I began climbing up the trail and came face to face with a lake that throws itself in the L'Assomption River. The scenery is just spectacular. There was a beaver dam, and it was just so magical being there. I started a fire and was getting ready to cook a meal when my attention was focused on the other side of the lake. As I looked, this huge being walked out of the woods and walked casually up to the lake. This is not a place where you find tourists. Heck, even the local people avoid this place. I was by myself and couldn't really believe what I was seeing, but I still had a peaceful feeling inside of me. There was no fear. But at the same time, I didn't want to attract his attention. I stood there and watched. I'm sure he knew I was there, but never turned to look at me. I guess he just wanted me to know that they are real, and the overall message I picked up was, welcome to my place. 70 yards separated the two of us. When he went back into the woods, that's when I decided to pack my things up and head home. That situation had me dazed for a couple of days. I remember praying on the way back just in case something would have happened, and nothing did. I believe he called me up there so I can tell others about what I saw. Anyways, that's my story, Steve. Thank you for all the energy you put out to make the people like me share their encounters. Sorry for some misspelled words. I grew up in mostly French environment, so I hope that everybody understands my message anyway. Thank you again, and God bless. We understand absolutely clearly, man. Appreciate the email, Jimmy. And welcome to the Club of No Return, right? And there's no escape. It's funny, I don't pronounce as smoothly as most people would. And some words I just don't pronounce them correctly. Maybe I'm reading too fast, or I got that hardcore Canadian accent, maybe. Is what it is. And with the French thing, I'm going to tell you a funny story. Funny short story on the French thing for me. I remember in grade 8, it was mandatory we took French. And I was more of a stubborn little prick at a very, very young age. I had it in me at a very young age to fight against somebody telling me what I had to do, in a way. And I remember being in grade 8 going into this French class in Victoria, outside of Victoria, at the new school I went to, which was grade 8 and 9. I went to Sartre school. And the poor woman's name was Miss Titong. She was a French teacher. And I sat in that class, and I wasn't rude to her, but I remember her telling me, speaking to me in French, and I looked at her and go, I'm not going to learn it. And she would get frustrated with me and demand that I repeat after her. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And she'd go, out. I go, see ya. I left. I just knew that I wasn't going to learn how to speak French. No matter what you said to me, I'm not going to learn how to speak French. Period. And that was how I carried myself at a young age. What a little bastard, eh? But I wasn't rude to her, but she kicked me out every single day. I went in, did the same routine, she just kicked me out and I'd leave. And of course I failed French. Funny, isn't it? I remember another time in grade 12. What was it, biology 12, I think? The teacher took me aside. And by then I already knew where I was going in life. Weird, right? I knew everything was going to be fine, and I knew what I was learning in here. Lots of what I was learning was an absolute waste of time. I just knew for me. I remember the teacher taking me aside and said, hey man, you got to try. You're failing this class. And I said, I don't care. I'm good. And he said, no, you don't understand. You're going to fail this class. Like you got to pick it up here. And I looked at him and I said, I'm going to be fine. I don't care if I pass or fail. I really don't. I just want to get the hell out of here. Funny, eh? Sure enough, I failed biology 12. And I left, and here I am, and everything's fine. I don't know why I just shared that, but I did. It took me back as I heard the French part and reading. I could tell your French accent in that email too. Why even share that? I don't know. Maybe the coffee's kicking in. Here we go. What do we got? I'm going to read more, share more. Can't stop me. The Hairy Arm is the title of this one. Edited. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, Steve. I hope all is well. I'm a 22-year-old man from Hants County, Nova Scotia. There's counties in Nova Scotia? No shit. I thought that was only in the States. Many moons ago, I was at a family friend's place with my parents. It was tail end of May or early June 2015. My family friend's home was maybe 25 minutes away from where I grew up. I was 15 years old at the time, and at that age, my boys aren't really wanting to hang with the older folks. So I decided I was going to walk up this trail. It was off the gravel road that leads to the family friend's house. It led to a couple of concrete barricades with a river that had a little dam. I crossed it and continued following the trail in the woods. I remember not wanting to go too far in due to fear that I'd get out of earshot of my dad in case they were wanting me to leave. I continued walking down the trail, past what looked like a little foot trail, and stopped at the next one up because I knew at that point I wasn't going to be able to hear my father yell. I went down the second foot trail, which led to a different section of the river. I went back up the second foot trail onto the big trail and went over to the foot trail I passed. I only got a little distance into it when I felt the need to go to get to my parents because it wasn't safe. I was scared like a child. I picked up my head and looked around and just tunnel visioned onto a tree dead ahead of me, 20 feet or so. There's a dark gray, long-haired arm and light gray, almost pale hand with 5 fingers wrapped around this oak tree. The knuckles had wrinkles like ours and fingernails like we do, but the arm was hairy, like a long-haired cat's tail, and matted. Its form was the size of a muscle man's calf muscle. The hand was much bigger than ours. The fingers were roughly around the same length, but there was a thumb as well. I remember seeing a rounded shape on the opposite side of the tree, and I'm assuming to be this thing's head, but I did not know as I was so focused on this arm. I mean, it was straight tunnel vision on it. I looked at it for a good half a minute and then ran like a bullet to my father. I've seen nothing in Atlantic Canada like this before, and I honestly haven't seen anything else like it since. I'm truly baffled by it. I can still see it to this day when I think back on it. What do you think? What do you think I've seen, Steve? Why do you think I had an instinctual fear of this experience? Hope life is leading you on this amazing journey with many years to come. Yours truly. Did you say to use your name? All right. Okay, Austin. Please give all your animals a pet for me as I'm an animal lover. Okay, man. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that just the fact that you went out of your way, possibly found this channel, found the email address, and emailed all of us through me, you know what it was. That's what I think you saw. You know what it was. You're probably fortunate you didn't see his face, possibly. And welcome to the club no return, man. You know what it was. I wonder why he let you see him like that. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So many people. Nova Scotia, we've had a lot emailed in from Nova Scotia. We've had people email in from every single... Actually, you know what? I don't think we've had anybody email in from Newfoundland. Now that I think about it. Maybe I'm wrong. If possibly somebody's there watching, you can email us if you know of something, got some knowledge from that province. But that's kind of odd. I don't think we've heard from them, anybody there yet. Be safe out there, man. Be safe out there. That's something else to see, isn't it? And you're not alone. You know you're not alone. And I think you know what you saw. It's titled Louisiana Sasquatch. Hello, Steve. I'll go by N. I grew up in South Dakota. I lived all over the United States. I currently live in Oregon. My first and only sighting was in 2010 in Louisiana on Highway 90 between Lake Charles and Vinton on the edge of Coon Valley. There's a bit of a swamp on one side of the road and trees on the other. My ex and I were driving from LC to Vinton in the evening when a fairly big hairy bipedal creature crossed the highway in front of us less than 75 yards away. Its hips were at the hood of an old Chevy Blazer. It was kind of hunched over and had long arms. It was dark brown in color but looked wet, like it had been swimming in the swamp. First it cleared a normal height, tightly wired barbed wire fence like it was nothing. This fence sat directly in the middle of a ditch. It had to have walked right over it. And in one step it was already on the highway, and took probably 2 more steps and was all the way across the 2-lane highway. It went back over another barbed wire fence again and disappeared into the trees. We both looked at each other and was like, what the hell was that? I said that was definitely not a bear, and we never talked about it again. Go figure. Here in Oregon, up near the Mount Hood, I've had an uneasy feeling in the woods before where I felt like I was being watched. That feeling of you were not supposed to be here. Once in the Black Hills of South Dakota while hunting, I could smell one. That smell was unlike anything I've ever smelled. Not even a big rutting bull has stunk that awful before. I definitely know they're out there. I love watching videos, always have. The bear encounters were my favorite until I discovered the Sasquatch series. Thank you for all that you do and getting people to come forward about these things. Over and out, N. Okay, man. Thanks for the report. I guarantee you somebody else listening has seen something similar in the same area. And they're going, aha. Right? Without a doubt. Oh, I got a trail camera texting me. What's going on? Okay, I'll be back shortly. Oh boy. Damn bears. He's a big one. Scared him off. Hopefully it rains here pretty quick or something and gets the fish pumping up the river and get these guys fed and get them away from the farms, right? I'm all sweaty now. And the bear is gone. Now, okay, what do we got? Here's another one. This is titled An Experience and a Request. What do we got? Any go juice left? A little bit. Steve. Hi, Steve. My name is Noah Bussell. I've been listening for the past 6 months and can't get enough. You know what you're doing is helping, so I won't beat this up too much. But your community has been a breath of fresh air, of truth and support. Coming from being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, a cult, and leaving it all behind, I can relate a lot of this feeling of ostracization by our peers, friends, and families. I love what we have here. I don't feel I have anything to add as far as real progressive knowledge to share with the roundtable knowledge, but I have a story that I've had with me that I've never been able to make much sense of. And if you read this on your channel, I hope someone can relate to it and maybe make some sense in it. See some sense in it. It's all right. A little frazzled, just chasing a big bear. I'm sweating my balls off. This all being said, I'm hesitant to even say this is sadly related. I'm just largely unsure. Anyway, here it goes. It's about 2010. I'm 14, still living with my parents and younger sister in Maynardville, Tennessee. It was late. I just started sleeping with the radio off. It may have been the first time doing so. I had my door to my room closed and the lights out. I lay on my back, shut my eyes, when something I'd never experienced happened. My ears began ringing, but it wasn't just like after listening to something loud. It was like a presence, and it came with the fear, maybe akin to the pressure talked about in the sightings and encounters. But in my fear, unable to move, I felt a hand on my thigh with digits like our own and weight behind it. I really freaked out. Turned on my lights and there's nothing there. Telling my parents did nothing. They may have been religious, but definitely not superstitious. I slept on the couch for the next few weeks, but that wasn't the end of the strangeness. Over that week, I heard what I can only describe as sounding like a jet aircraft seemingly hovering overhead 3 days in a row, all between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m. I never saw lights or heard it move. I worked for the Navy near the air base and never have I heard what I did that night. The last instance of strangeness was a toy that was out because the child my sister was babysitting at the time was in the living room, which hadn't worked in years due to being left outside. It turned on. It scared the daylights out of me. I bashed it and took the old corroded batteries out to make sure it couldn't do that again when I did get some sleep in. This all took place within a week or so. I don't know if I may have attracted something by knocking wood in my expansive backyard. I like to do bushcraft in the few acres in our backyard, and at the time when I was younger, I was trying to chop down an old tree with a splitting axe. Slow work and a lot of wax. I hiked and backpacked a lot in the Smokies and more as an adult, but I never felt comfortable in the woods behind my house. I felt more uneasy when I carried a knife or a hatchet than when I was just walking. I wonder why that was. I don't think I'd ever go anywhere without self-defense nowadays. Well, I'm sure you'd like to know if anyone has had a similar experience or if this is more akin to something else. If someone has something, I'll be checking comments. In conclusion, my upbringing has made me highly suspicious of people in authority and a seeker of truth. Like you say, this subject is a hotbed for raising important questions. That is a great way of putting it. Regarding freedom and related things, my country's Navy may be kicking me out for standing up for my medical and religious freedoms. I wish I could know or go out and look for answers myself. If anyone is out in the Southeast Virginia area that would be up to meet and teach me to hunt, I desperately want to get out of the woods again. Much love. Be safe out there. Very respectfully, Noah Bustle. Okay, man. Appreciate you, Noah. I haven't had an experience like that myself, but maybe somebody has, and maybe that'll help put something to rest for you. All right, I just had a message come in from a First Nations young man that wrote into us a couple years ago from Mount Currie, Pembina, where I was living, and his brother, cousin, were going down the Birkenhead River, trout fishing, floating down, and there's a Sasquatch in the river standing there staring at him down the creek. Looked up, saw them, stepped out of the way, and they went by. Anyways, this young guy just texted me a photo screenshot of a comment while I'm sitting here, and I got enough service to pick it up, and I'm going to read it. So he scratched out the name, and here is the comment. I haven't been so effing scared in my life. We're traveling back from Lillooet. We get to the lake part. We pulled over because I needed a bathroom break. I step outside, and there was a huge rock that was thrown at us. We seen something run across the road, then a loud-ass scream. I hate traveling at nighttime over the Duffy. Now there's a dent on our passenger's door. And that's it. Interesting. Now I would imagine Okay, and he added the third sighting / encounter up the Duffy in less than a week. There you go, man. All right. I'll bet you, Kelly, got you, man. Appreciate the email, all right? And you know as well as I do how many sightings are on the Duffy Highway. It's off the chart, right? And I wonder if that person who just saw that, experienced that, I wonder if they were aware of these beings beforehand. Because if they weren't, what a shit-eating thing to experience, right? Especially on the Duffy at nighttime. The place is creepier than shit. And it is what it is. Okay, I'm going to read one more. I don't know how this video is going to turn out. I feel like I'm all over the map today. I hope a lot of it made sense. My brain's racing right now because I've obviously been interrupted over here. I get a live message, which is probably the record short amount of time for something reported in and shared on the video ever. Was it 3 seconds? Pretty quick. And I'm going to share one more. There's a few confusing ones today. I've been confusing today, and I need to go get some other things done and get my shit lined out. And maybe I'll be able to come back in here and do another one and be a little more smooth. I'm finding a lot of emails in here that have been read, and it's very frustrating for them. It's almost like somebody's messing with my phone and doing it intentionally. Wouldn't that be something else? It wouldn't even surprise me. Star People in Ash's Diary. Hello. Please don't mention my name. I have reason to believe the Star People mentioned in the diary are a type of alien known as the Nordics because they are all blonde. They have extreme psychic abilities, and these include telepathy, mind speak. They can disappear / appear at will. That's why the people in black suits have never successfully captured one. They can use the blue orb form to travel. Pairs of them can create a large blue orb to travel in. They've helped the USA in highly technical projects like the Saturn rocket moon missions. Their involvement in USA technical projects began with Project Paperclip because they helped the Germans first, which is why the Germans were technically ahead of the Allies in World War II. They've also helped with other projects that are classified. The Nordics are militaristic in nature and go by a strict chain of command. Hundreds of Nordics are on the Earth today in the vicinity of the Silicon Valley, Antelope Valley, a cluster of underground research facilities, New York City, and various defense contractors and research facilities. The unidentified DNA and Sabe are almost certainly from the Nordics. They came from the stars. They are the Star People. Keep up the good work. I think it's the Star People connection and knowledge which is behind the Sabe being secret. And there is a very confident delivery, almost sounding very factual, as if you have absolute first-hand knowledge of those statements shared by you. How would you know? How do you know this? How do you know? That's what probably 99.99% of the people in the viewer column are asking right now. How do you know that? All right, I'm going to go one more, just for the hell, because there's one right here. Oh, I'm sweating. My mind, I can't concentrate, but I'm going to see if I can do it. Could it have been a Sabe? Please refer to me as KT. I live in mid-Michigan in the central southern part of the state. I shared a couple experiences with you last summer, and you read one about when I was being hunted by a canine in 1985. The other, I'm not sure if you read it or not, but I'll touch on that story because after talking with my husband about it again, I clearly missed a couple interesting details my husband remembered that I did not. However, first I'd like to share something from a long time ago, the memory of which was brought back to me by the most recent experience. Since the experience last summer, I asked myself the question, could that have been a Sabe? Thinking about what transpired makes me think that maybe it was. At the time, it wasn't even a thought. I had not seen the footage in California about them. Excuse me, I had not seen the footage in California about them. I ended up being safe, and it sort of was forgotten until now. Excuse me. My parents used to take me and my brothers, even from a young age, onto state land where we stayed together and hunted wild mushrooms, morels, each spring. So I was pretty comfortable around that environment. But there was always an adult within sight. I knew to stick close and never wander. I tried to recognize things when we were in the woods, a stream, a marked path, anything. I didn't even remember any strange feelings while mushroom hunting. However, on our property near the woods, I often felt like I was being watched at times over the years. I hadn't put any thought into it. I'd get a little creeped out sometimes, but I just thought it was the woods that made me feel that way. The feelings were never of anything menacing. The woods were dense back there. probably at least a half a mile back before you come across another road and several miles across the other direction. With all that being said, here is the experience. It was the summer of '72 and I was 7. At the time, next door to us, there was a pair of brothers that used to come over to play. I was the youngest in the house, but because I was a couple years older than these boys, it made me kind of a big sister to them. One day, the older of them wanted to explore the woods behind my house. There's a big television tower with a blinking light on the top way back in the woods, and he wanted to go see it up close. I didn't want to, for I wasn't sure of the way, having never been back there myself. I was also told not to go into those woods. His little brother really didn't want to go and ran back home. Being the headstrong brother that he was, he started off into the woods anyway, straight for the tower. I had no choice but to follow, and I pretty much thought his brother would tell their mother. I was just going to go up to the top of the hill, and that was it. I called after him not to go. He indicated that I was chicken, so I went on behind him. The sun was hot in between the trees. There's not a breath of air moving, and the woods were getting darker and more dense the farther we went. We were not on a trail or anything, just trees. We could not see the tower very well. We did get there, though, and there was a metal fence around it. The tower was really tall, and that was it. Nothing impressive, to be sure. That was enough for him, and we turned around and started back. It wasn't long, and I realized we were lost. We had so many twists and turns on the way up, avoiding brambles that we were off course. He was depending on me to get us home. We began running through the trees, heading toward what we thought was the right way. We came to a trail. I started to follow it. It came to a small clearing where someone had been camping. There was a ragged old tent and a spot where there had been a campfire. We walked closer. The man opened the tent and came out. He had a scraggly beard and dirty long blonde hair. His clothes were torn and dirty. He was about 30 years old or so, and he was not happy to see we were there. As a matter of fact, he looked at us like he wanted to hurt us. He seemed scared too, in a way. I quickly darted down the trail that was next to the tent. My neighbor was right behind me. We ran as fast as we could. I thought the man was chasing us. We ran and ran. I thought my lungs were going to explode. I was very hot and thirsty. Something was chasing us down the trail. I know it. I could feel it. We didn't see anything or hear anything, just a feeling we got to get out of there. I kept running. Then I saw the bright sunshine ahead in the clearing. I recognized it as the back of our property. We were coming into it from a different direction. As we made our way to it, I saw lots of people. My mom, my brother's mom, the neighbor on the other side, and in the distance, the Michigan State Police with their dogs on their leashes. They had just gotten there. I don't know how long we were gone, but it must have been 2 or 3 hours. We told them about the man we saw. The police were very interested and asked us to describe him, which we did. They'd been looking for him, apparently. Was he an escaped convict from the prison? We didn't know for sure. I felt like we were chased right up the hill until I recognized our property. Would that man risk being found out by chasing a couple of kids that far? If he was hiding? We were obviously hot, red-faced, and lost. Seems like he would be packing up to get out of Dodge to me. So knowing what I know now, thanks to the channel and the knowledgeable people who've helped share their experiences, I think otherwise. Oh man. Alright, I gotta get going. And get some other things knocked off. This day is burning. I got a lot to do. I gotta get up 4:30 tomorrow morning and take some guests from here out sport fishing for a couple of days. It should be interesting. I wonder if they're members of the Club of No Return. I guess I'm gonna find out. But I've lost my concentration here. I'm not reading smoothly, and I feel a little unorganized, and I gotta get my ass moving. And I'm gonna try to come back and try to get one more volley shares done before I go. I'm sweating my ass off. Chasing bears in the heat in your bare feet. Okay, I'll be back shortly. Be safe.